Hello everyone, this is David Kent with a few notes about a recent article in Massage Today that's entitled Cervicogenic Headaches and the Sternocleidomastoid. Now, as we've talked, you always want to make sure you take a thorough intake form so you rule out any precautions or contraindications prior to ever beginning any type of therapy. I always like to use visuals, so I just utilize the technology that's available. My iPhone, simply take a photograph, I can zoom in and I can show the patients their posture. And then I want to utilize other visuals as well. Now, to keep me on track, I also utilize visuals. So, for example, I'll utilize a pain scale so it keeps me on track as far as which side the patient's having the pain, on the right or the left. It gives me a little scale letting me know how severe their head pain or their cervical pain is prior to treatment. And then at the same time, it's very important that they understand all the different areas that I'm going to be treating throughout the session, why I'm treating those areas. So continuing with the posture, as we had mentioned, we could take some photos. We could zoom in real quickly with the phone and let them see at least. It's very easy for the patient to actually see a high shoulder, a forward head posture, so that they understand the physical stresses that their body is under. And then I'll just take it a step further and I'll explain, showing them with the photos at the same time, shoulder being high on one side, low on the other side, how that affects and influences to move the head as the shoulders become unlevel. If they have a forward head posture, again, they need to understand how the muscles that are in the back of the neck are affected by muscles like the sternocleidomastoid in the front of the neck. Now, along with the postural information that the patient's going to receive, I also like to let them know about myofascial trigger points. And what I always let them know is a myofascial trigger point in a muscle is kind of like a trigger of a gun. You pull the trigger of a gun and the effect is where the bullet goes. So I always want them to understand that what we're assessing for today is myofascial trigger points, and that I might be pressing in one area that may refer pain to another area, and that their physician may have sent them to us for cervicogenic headaches because they realized that the origin of that head pain was coming from the neck. Very often where the patients are having their pain might be in the back of the neck, and they're having very little, if any at all, or they don't notice the pain in the front of the neck because the pain in the back of the neck is so intense. So I'll take a moment to show them a few images. For example, the upper trapezius, trigger point number 1, how you could be treating, or I could be treating in the upper trapezius region, and how that can refer into the forehead or into the temple and behind the eye. We could go a few layers deeper in the neck and we will see the semispinalis capitis, for example, and how there are multiple trigger point locations in that muscle that again refer to the side of the head. Also, our deepest muscle here in the back of the neck, or the deepest muscles in the back of the neck, the suboccipital muscles that are taking care of all types of corrections. If we've moved off to one side, we have this lateral tilting. We also have rotations taking place in the body, so the last place for that correction to be made is with those suboccipitals. And there again, that's going to bring us to the sternocleidomastoid, and there are two divisions. We have a sternal division, and we also have a clavicular division. And each one of those different divisions have totally different referral patterns. And I want the patients to understand that, so I'm showing them an image so that they're able to clearly see how the sternal head, for example, or the sternal division or belly of the sternocleidomastoid can refer into the temple, to the forehead, behind the orbit, also to the top of the eye. You'll notice a region behind the ear, and as well as into the throat and even some into the chest. Now, they may not experience all these patterns. They may only experience part of it. And then with the clavicular head, we're able to see how that refers right into the ear, also into the forehead. So these patterns for each belly are much different, and showing the patient the visual is important. As I had mentioned in the article, when you palpate a trigger point and it refers to a different area of their body, you don't want them to think that they're wired wrong or they're all screwed up or they're a wreck or no one can figure it out. These are all things that they tell us. I want them to be secure and understand I'm not pressing on a nerve. We do understand what's taking place, that we've identified in that situation an active myofascial trigger point, and if we understand where to press and activate that trigger point, we now understand the musculature involved, and we have to treat that, and we also have to eliminate any perpetuating factors that will keep that trigger point forming again. So it's not just treatment, we also need to understand what caused the setup of the trigger point, and then give the patient self-care tips or ergonomic tips to eliminate it. Now, also when you're treating active trigger points, they can be very sensitive. On some patients, you'll be able to actually press. On others, it will be so sensitive you can barely put lubrication and glide on that muscle. Now, if you're able to utilize pincer compression, keep in mind that if you have lubrication on the skin already, your hands can become very fatigued, as you could use an excessive amount of contraction in your hands trying to securely hold on to the sternocleidomastoid. So if you apply even a tissue or lay the linens onto the side of the neck or onto the skin between your fingers and the skin, you'll get a good traction and a good secure hold on the muscle as you apply the pincer compression. Now, as we can see here, as I'm treating Krista, I have her head lifted, I have it turned away from the treating side, so I have her head turned to the left. I have support under my hand that's supporting her head, so I have her in a slight lateral flexion, which shortens the right sternocleidomastoid, and now you can see I'm applying pincer compression to the muscle, and then as I move down the muscle, I'm checking in with the patient to see if we're getting any of the referral patterns. If they recognize the referral, then I know that I'm on an active trigger point. If they get the referral and this is new to them, they've never experienced this before, then I know I'm on a latent trigger point. And I want the patients to understand the difference between the two. If it's happened so much that they even recognize the pattern, oh, that's my headache when you press there, for example. That's the pain behind my eyeball when you press there. Then we understand that we've identified an active trigger point. So again, my name's David Kent with Kent Health Systems. Thank you for taking a few minutes to join me, and I look forward to seeing you soon.